The lively suburb of Newlands, where every house had a well-manicured lawn and friendly neighbors, lived a quirky couple, Tunde and Amaka. They were eagerly expecting their first child, and Amaka's pregnancy had brought a delightful, albeit peculiar, change in their household dynamics. One sunny afternoon, Tunde returned home from work to find Amaka standing in the kitchen, staring intently at the fridge. She had one hand on her belly and the other pointing at the appliance as if giving it a stern lecture. "Amaka, what's going on?" Tunde asked, bemused. She turned to him with a serious expression. "This fridge is conspiring against me, Tunde. Every time I crave pickles, they mysteriously disappear." Tunde chuckled, walked over to the fridge, and opened it. Right there on the middle shelf was a jar of pickles. He handed it to her, but she shook her head. "No, no, no," she said, "those aren't the ones I wanted. I wanted the ones from the brand with the blue label." Tunde sighed, but couldn't help smiling. "I'll get you your blue label pickles, my queen." The next day, Tunde was startled awake at 2 a.m. by the sound of banging pots in the kitchen. Rubbing his eyes, he stumbled out of bed and, wearing a chef's hat and apron, vigorously stirring a large pot of spaghetti sauce. "Amaka, what are you doing?" he asked, bewildered. "Making spaghetti, of course," she declared with enthusiasm. "The baby wants spaghetti at exactly 2:05 a.m. Tunde checked the clock. It was 2:05 a.m. on the dot. "Okay, but can't it wait until breakfast?" "Absolutely not," she exclaimed, her eyes wide. "The baby is very specific. Spaghetti now, pancakes at 5 a.m. Tunde rubbed his temples but decided to help. He figured it was best to support his wife's quirky cravings than to argue with her and their unborn baby's precise schedule. A few weeks later, Tunde came home to find Amaka in a detective trench coat and hat, complete with a magnifying glass, inspecting the living room. "Sherlock Holmes, I presume," he teased. She nodded seriously, peering at him through the magnifying glass. "Elementary, my dear Tunde. Someone has been moving the cushions on the couch." Tunde raised an eyebrow. "And who might that be?" Amaka looked around suspiciously. "I suspect it's the baby. Very sneaky, this one." Tunde burst out laughing. "You think the baby, inside your belly, is moving the couch cushions?" "Anything's possible," she replied with a grin. "Especially in this house." Despite the odd scenarios, Tunde cherished these moments. Amaka's antics kept their lives exciting and filled their home with laughter. One evening, Tunde walked into the bedroom to find Amaka sitting cross-legged on the bed, surrounded by an assortment of stuffed animals. She was deep in conversation with them. "Amaka, what's happening here?" he asked, trying to keep a straight face. "We're having a very important meeting," she said, gesturing to the toys. "Discussing the baby's name. Mr. Fluffykins is quite insistent on Amittens if it's a girl." Tunde couldn't hold back his laughter. "Well, Mr. Fluffykins has great taste, but maybe we should stick with the names we picked out." Amaka nodded. "Agreed. But I had to consider all opinions, you know?" As her due date approached, Amaka's behavior grew even more entertaining. One day, she was convinced that singing to the plants in their garden would help the baby develop musical talent. Tunde found her outside, serenading the roses with a rendition of "Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star." Despite the unusual behavior, Tunde loved every bit of it. He knew these moments were fleeting and that they would soon be welcoming their child into the world. He admired Amaka's creativity and sense of humor, which brought joy and laughter into their lives during a time that could easily have been stressful. When their baby girl finally arrived, Tunde and Amaka were overjoyed. They named her Zui, meaning beautiful in Swahili. As they held their newborn, Tunde whispered to Amaka, "I can't wait to see what adventures Zuri will bring us." Amaka smiled, tired but happy. If she's anything like her mama, she'll keep us on our toes. And so, the quirky adventures of Tunde, Amaka, and now little Zuri continued, with love, laughter, and just the right amount of craziness to make life perfectly delightful.